Hi guys, this is a bit of a technical video actually. I've been actually threatening to do this video to several people offline and also on a few threads that have been running on forums. And I just haven't had time. We're all busy, aren't we? And I've got a whole list of videos to do, but I thought, right, Sean, sort your ass out and get the video done. This is a bit of a revisit really for the Bang & Olufsen range of TVs. I'm sure you guys are aware that I bought one now, an MX4000. Well, I actually bought two, but that's a bit of a long story. Watch the video, guys, it's on my channel. Yeah, less said about that the better. But effectively I bought one and I wasn't actually that impressed with it, to the point that I thought, you know what, I'm never going to use this TV again. It is in storage at the moment. I've still got it, it's in storage. And sometime, I think it was sometime at the start of this year, it may have even been at the back end of last year, I bought another Bang & Olufsen. I had a bit of a theory as to why the TV that I had bought before wasn't a great picture. I just wasn't impressed with the chassis. The picture wasn't that great compared to a Trinitron. And there's quite a few of you guys out there that bought the B&Os and really like them, and have actually compared them against the Trinitron and said that they're as good. They're not as bright, but certainly the quality of the image was good, and certainly some of the videos that I've seen, they look fine. You know, if I look at Future Matt's videos, certainly the recent ones with PCBs, and I can see the clarity in the screen, and obviously that was more recently, but it did get me thinking, and I had a bit of a theory and sort of took a bit of a punt and bought another one from eBay. I did a bit of checking around to make sure that the one that I bought was matching the requirements that I wanted. And again, I'll sort of come on to that in a short while. But suffice to say, I got the MX4002 home. As soon as I plugged it in and put a console in, I could immediately see a difference. I pulled the back off the TV, and the tube was exactly the same. So it wasn't the tube. It wasn't the tube. And it appears, I can't say this is totally factual, so don't hold me to this, but it appears that there are differences in the chassis. The one I've recently bought is one of the later chassis, and you can actually tell an early chassis from a later chassis by a software revision number on the sticker on the back of the TV, and I'll show that in a short while. Effectively, the later chassis enabled you to get into the service menu via the remote control instead of having to do the chassis mod that I've shown on the previous video by fitting an external switch to bridge a jumper. So you can do everything by the remote. And also, to back that up, you don't need the all singing, all dancing, I can't remember which remote it is, BO remote, but you don't need that one, even with the later TV. Again, some time ago on the original video I did, I actually said that I actually went out and bought a copy BO 1000 remote. So it's got no screen on it, but I can get into the service menu with this remote. You don't need the expensive remote that most of the TVs nowadays don't come with, because people are flogging the expensive remote off. There was the thought originally that you couldn't get into the service menu, even on the later chassis types, without the expensive remote, and that simply isn't true. You can use like a universal one, which is, and this is sort of universal, but it is a copy of the BO 1000 remote, so the one without the screen, which I've got somewhere. So basically, to cut a long story short, This MX that I've got now is using the latest chassis. The picture is a lot better, and you don't need to mess around with the chassis to get into the service menu, and you also don't need the expensive remote to get into the service menu. You can buy a cheaper remote. This one cost me like £17 brand new. So it was well worth going out and getting that, in my opinion, just to confirm that. I know a few of you guys have bought the 4000 and, like me, have said it's not very good. Now, it could of course be an issue with my original MX 4002. It's got a crap tube in it, but I don't know. You know, I'll be interested to see what you guys say, because obviously a lot of you guys that have got them, if all the people that have got them that are getting good pictures are the ones that they can get to the service menu via the remote, then that pretty much proves the fact that it is down to the chassis revision. But like I said, guys, it is really easy to find out what version of chassis it is, and I'll go on to that next. And after that, I'll actually show you some test cards on this later revision of the chassis, just to point out some things that I've noticed. Unfortunately, I haven't done a side-by-side test. I can't be asked because the other TV's in storage and I can't bother to get it out to show you, and you probably won't be able to see the differences on a YouTube video, but you have to take my word for it, there is a big difference between the two. So it'd be interesting to know where we can get that verified, that the people that are happy with the tubes are based on people that have got the later chassis on them. So I hope you enjoy the video, guys, and I'll speak to you again soon. Right then, guys, just to be specific to what I was referring to as regards to finding out effectively what version of chassis you have on the MX 4000, is if you look at the back of the TV, and if we zoom in on the little sticker on the back, right, you see that SW 3.1? That's effectively the version of the chassis type, and this one's a 3.1. I'm not actually sure what version of chassis, as regards to number, that the latest chassis was based on, but if you ensure that your MX 4000 or 4002 is at least 3.1, then you can be pretty rest assured that you've got the latest chassis, or the latest chassis I should say. If you're looking to buy one off eBay, if you ask the seller to tell you what that software number is, if it's 3.1 or greater, I would buy it. If it's less than 3.1, I wouldn't bother buying it. Right, whilst I'm not actually going to do a side-by-side test between this one and my other MX 4000, you're going to have to take my word for it, guys. But there is a difference. There's definitely a difference in the picture quality. I thought I'd pull up some test grids on the MX 4000 with the latest chassis, just to give you a bit of a general sort of overview, really, the clarity of the picture. This is a test grid, and we just sort of scan around, and the geometry, I haven't actually spent any great deal of time on setting the geometry up, so this is pretty much as it came. You know, I could improve it a bit, but it's not really worth it, to be honest. And it's pretty decent, to be fair. You can see there that everything's pretty much square. Yeah, there's a slight bit of issue on the right hand side of the tube, but you know, nothing that's really worth getting excited about. Now hopefully you can see this on this video clip. You might have to put this into full screen 1080p resolution to see. But one of the problems I had on the other chassis was a bit of an issue, really, to do with the overall focus of the tube. And if we look at a white background and we see the scan, you should be able to pick up the scan lines there. If I slowly move up to the top of the screen, so that's dead center. I have actually adjusted the focus on this chassis. But if I move up, you should see there, if I move to the top, if you look at the top of that image, it's not as the scan lines aren't as clear as what they are further down. We move further down and you should be able to dictate or depict, sorry, each individual scan line there pretty clearly. But like I said, if you go to the top of the tube, you tend to lose a bit of that. It goes a bit fuzzy, and it's also for the top corners, or each corner loses clarity as well, which isn't unusual, to be honest. And you see there, it more or less sort of disappears right at the top. You can't see any scan lines at all. Now again, this is pretty typical of a consumer CRT, but the problem with the other chassis was it was sort of like it is at the top corner, quite a way into the tube. It's only at the very top edges really that you can see it sort of lose some form of focus. But like I said, on the other chassis it was a lot worse than that. So again, that's another sort of indicator, in my opinion, based on my other MX using the older chassis. Similar sort of test pattern, where you see the centre of the screen and you can see a nice linear set of horizontal lines are all evenly spaced. But again, if I move up to the top corner of the screen, you'll see that linearity sort of disappear slightly. And in fact, on here you can see a bit of a convergence issue. I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up. You can see red underneath the white. But again, for a home consumer TV, that's nothing particularly bad. And like I said, the other chassis was a lot worse than that. So again, that's just another indicator. Final test grid really is to show you the colour bars, and they're all fairly evenly set. You know, the colour on that chassis is pretty good. Doesn't need any adjustment really. And again, if we just come in, we should be able to see the scan line even on the darkest or the brightest contrast of colours, which is good. You're going to see a slight moire effect there on the green, certainly. But that's the camera. You don't see that with the naked eye. But again, it just shows you that there's a decent sort of uniformity there as regards to the colour bars. Everything seems to be set okay. And sorry, we'll do one last one. This is based on colour bars, but a solid colour, and this is checked for bleeding. And again, it's all pretty hunky-dory. There is no bleeding. You can see definition of vertical black lines, regardless of the colour. So there's no bleeding between the black and the colour. So it's it's more or less set good enough, really, certainly for retro gaming. Like I said, this is basically out of the box. I haven't hardly changed anything at all on the setup of this TV, which was a far cry really from the original MX. I had to play around with that a lot, and it was still not very good picture compared to a Sony Trinitron.